Welcome to the channel. My name's Chris.
And I'm Laura.
And this is Chris and Laura. Today, we are going to have, what'd you say, hamburger vegetable soup?
Yes.
With, and I'm positive you said, homemade French bread.
Yes, that is correct. We are going to make some French bread and some vegetable beef soup.
Inside there.
Right now I have 1 1/4 cups very warm water. And then the thing about a bread machine, you have to put the ingredients in a certain order so it mixes together right. So I've got the warm water first, and then I will, then I've got a teaspoon of salt. With the bread machines, you want to keep the salt and the yeast separate. So you always add the salt first. So there's a teaspoon of salt into the 1 1/4 cups hot water. Then you're going to do 3 1/2 cups flour. Kind of make a bit of a well in the top of it. That's where you'll put your yeast. For the yeast, we need 1 packet or 2 1/4 teaspoons of yeast, dry active yeast. I don't use the bread machine yeast. It doesn't matter. It does the same thing. So we put all that in there. And can you see inside of there?
Oh, you might need to tip it a little bit so we can.
That's your little yeast well in there. And it's the same thing. You do the same thing with the stand mixers. You know, if you have a stand mixer, you can just mix up your dough like that. You can do it by hand. I just cheat and use the bread machine because it does the mixing for me and makes it rise for the first rise. It's setting number 7. You just start it, and it's an 1.5 hours where it mixes. I keep an eye on it for the first probably about the first 5 minutes, and add any extra water if I need to, like a teaspoon at a time if it looks too dry. You don't want to get it too wet. You don't want it sticking, because then you'll have to add more flour. So I've added a little extra water, not too much, about a teaspoon. But you don't want it really sticking to you, but you'll know within the first 5 minutes.
I like your apron.
Thank you. I got this one for Christmas from my husband.
Yeah.
See, now I've added too much water. Alright, so now you want it at where it's not too sticky. You don't want it to really stick to you. So now it's in the phase where it's going to start letting it rest. It'll rest for about 5 minutes, and then it will start mixing again. And then it will have the heat start, so you don't want to open the lid anymore after now. So we will just let that do its thing for the next 1 hour and 25 minutes, and we will get the vegetable beef soup started.
Right on. Pepper, salt, onion powder, red pepper, the fancy schmancy camper spice rack.
That's where the magic happens.
Yep. What was that?
Garlic.
Garlic powder. Not garlic salt. Garlic
No.
powder.
Oh, we don't need that much sodium. So I cooked the hamburger about halfway here, and I threw in about half a chopped onion. We'll let that cook together for a little bit till the onions are a little tender and the meat's done, and then we'll throw some more ingredients in. I've got about 4 medium-sized potatoes here that I'm chopping up. Getting there. Drain some of that grease out of there. When it's done.
Looking delicious.
Alright, so I have drained the hamburger. So we're going to start adding our stuff to it. I will start with the canned tomatoes that we have. We have some Rotel, so I'm going to use that. It's the thing about vegetable beef soup, use what you have. Got some green beans. It's probably about a cup. Probably about half a cup of corn or so. I got about 4 medium potatoes. I'm going to throw in some Worcestershire sauce. Some salt. Potatoes. Gotta salt them. Some pepper. Remember, we like flavor. Garlic. Onion powder. I'm going to throw in a little ground cumin. I did like a super stiff beef stock here. So I'm going to dump this in. I'm going to add some water. You can use all beef stock. I have bouillon cubes. So I just add what I feel is necessary.
Add the flavor.
Yeah, there you go. There's a little water. Help dilute it a little bit. Start mixing it up. Look at that.
Right on. So what do you got going on?
Alright, so the bread dough is done. It's ready for me to take it out and start forming it into the bread loaves.
While you're taking it out, I'm going to pan over to the soup.
Oh, yeah. Can you see in here too?
Look at that.
With how big it is? It's starting to fall a little bit. I don't know if you can get in there with all the...
Oh, we can see it. Oh, it's almost up to the lid. There it is. Look at that. Boy, that rose a lot. Look at that.
Alright, so now we're going to move this around on the flour. I'm doing it on a baking sheet because I don't have much for counter. Okay. So now I'm going to cut it in half. Let's see what we got here for a weight. Should come out to 12 ounces each. That one's a little heavy. Here we go. So when you form this out, have your floured surface, kind of push it out a little bit. You're going to want to roll it. And then you're going to want to tuck your ends. You set her off to the side there for a minute. Alright, so homemade isn't always pretty, but it tastes good. Now I'm going to set these, I'm going to cover them up, and I'm going to set them in our oven and let them double in size. And I'll come back when they're ready to bake. Get 450 for 15 to 20 minutes or until a light golden brown.
Boy, oh boy, this house smells beautiful.
Sliding around on our pans.
Woo.
Yeah, it's laundry. Okay.
Got some melted butter here. I had it sitting on top of the oven. So we're just going to put some melted butter all over this. Let that cool down for a little bit before we cut into it. And then we'll do a taste test. Let you know how it is.
Awesome. Exciting.
So this is our vegetable beef soup that we made. I'm gonna scoop some of that up over here into our bowl.
I want to try some of this right here. I watched you cook this all day. I want it.
It looks hot. Now the bread,
That's pretty good.
you gotta dip that in there.
I'm gonna. So this is our supper for tonight. We are going to sit down. We got to get Dustin out here, and we're going to enjoy a whole bunch of this
Vegetable beef soup.
vegetable beef soup,
And French
delicious,
bread.
and French bread. Thanks for joining us today. If you haven't already subscribed, do so. Doesn't cost you a dime, and it helps the channel out a lot.
Yes, it does.
Like it. Share it with a friend. Try this soup out for yourself. Make it at home. Enjoy, folks.